Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about HubSpot. If you're hustling in the trenches to build a business or bootstrapping one of your own, let's talk about an AI-powered tool that can lighten up your workload a bit. HubSpot's Campaign Assistant is a game changer for creating marketing campaigns at scale. It quickly turns your key selling points into a cohesive pitch, which helps you deliver knockout emails, ads, and landing pages in minutes. So let Campaign Assistant take care of the campaigns so you can get back to growing your business. Work smarter, not harder at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Howdy folks, it is Monday, June 26th. I'm Jacob Cohen and you're listening to The Hustle Daily Show. Today, aren't you glad you're not in the orange industry right now? Florida's orange industry has been squeezed hard the last couple decades. Producers have lost some of their zest, and consumers are now feeling the pain more than ever, and we are going to discuss. But before we do, let's talk about what else is happening in the world of business and tech. Let's get crack-a-lacking. First things first, let's start with a yikes. IRL, which stands for In Real Life, and is the name of a messaging app for communities and group planning, is dealing with some drama IRL. According to the information last year, the startup CEO said it had more than 20 million monthly active users, but the company now says an investigation by its board of directors found 95% of those users were automated or from bots, as they say. As a result, the company, which raised $200 million and was valued around $1.2 billion, will be shutting down. Moving along, we've got another yikes. Times are obviously tight, and charitable organizations felt that hard last year. Americans gave $17.3 billion less to charity than they did in 2021, according to Giving USA. The reductions came on the individual level. Donations from corporations and foundations, on the other hand, went up. Up next, one industry seeing more green, though, that would be pistachios. High stash demand led California to devote another 74.6 thousand acres of farmland to the nut last year, a 20% increase. But it will take a while to crack open the benefits. The tree usually takes 8 to 12 years to reach full bearing. Also, a different food that's churning out sales today, on the other hand, is cottage cheese, which I really don't like, but apparently a lot of other people do. The cottage cheese producers are really milking the opportunity to serve the 40% of U.S. adults that want more protein in their diets, according to the Wall Street Journal. And in the last year, sales have risen almost 16% to $1.2 billion. And TikToks with the hashtag cottage cheese have more than 340 million views, 135 million of which came in the last 120 days. And in other news, does your to-do list feel impossible? Well, let the IRS offer some hope for getting through it. Between the 2022 and 2023 filing seasons, America's federal tax agency slashed its backlog of unprocessed paper returns by 80%, from 13.3 million to 2.6 million. Want to call in with your congrats? It may actually work. 35% of customer service calls are also now being answered, and that's up from 11%. So still some work to do, because 35% in the scheme of things is not that great, but much better than 11%. Also, what a sight this was. Squarespace is hoping to continue dominating, or should I say domainating, the website building business with its around $180 million purchase of Google Domains assets, including 10 million domains, as the Google unit looks to wind down and shift focus elsewhere. And last but not least, weddings have a hell of a lot of couples saying, I do to debt. According to The Atlantic, with the estimated cost of the average wedding ballooning to $30,000 in the United States last year, as many as 45% of newly married couples in the U.S. took on debt to pay for their big day. Helping to drive up that average? Well, that would be the more than 13,000 weddings that took place last year, with price tags of over $1 million. All right, and as you let that number sink in, let's get to today's main story. All right, to any orange juice fans reading this, except for those, I'll say, who like orange juice in their cereal, apologies in advance. And that's because the news here is that Florida, a state whose license plates feature oranges, whose official flower is the orange blossom, whose official beverage is OJ, and whose citrus market is valued at some $6.9 billion, according to the University of Florida, is struggling to grow oranges. The Agriculture Department's latest estimate is that the state's farms will generate around 15.75 million 90-pound boxes of oranges this season. And that may sound like a lot until you see the chart in today's newsletter and realize that just 2 decades ago, Florida was pumping out nearly 250 million boxes. So let's peel back the rind on this quickly. It's been a rough couple decades for orange producers. According to the Washington Post, insects that cause an incurable bacterial disease among trees known as greening arrived in Florida in 1998, spurring a rapid and ongoing production decline. In recent years, too, hurricanes and cold spells have accelerated that decline. And to make matters worse, Brazil, which is typically an additional source of orange supply, is also weathering their own weather-related shortages. And you don't have to be Janet Yellen to know what happens when supplies drop. OJ prices in January were up more than 20% from 2016, according to the Wall Street Journal. Plus, as yields have declined, 2/3 of processors shut their doors between 2006 and 2016, and some of those still around are weighing a pivot to other crops to make ends meet. So, all around, not a great outlook for this industry. Now, there are University of Florida scientists working to develop greening-resistant citrus trees, and all we can say here is, let's hope they can quickly work some miracles. And bada bing, bada boom, that's going to do it for us today, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Ezra Trupiano. Our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter, which you can and should sign up for at thehustle.co/email. Hope you have an awesome Monday, an awesome start to the week. We'll catch you here tomorrow. Have a good one.
Let me tell you about a show that I've been loving lately. It's called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by the incredible John Lee Dumas. It's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. I'm a big fan of this podcast. It has energy, it has value, and it's all about learning about entrepreneurship. I was just listening to an episode the other day. JLD interviewed Jay Rogers, who was such a wealth of information. He kind of went into how entrepreneurship chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, and that failure only happens when you stop trying to win. A lot of gems in this one, so I highly recommend checking out that particular episode along with the rest. So go listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts. Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late, since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.